Hey everyone, welcome back to a sim racing experience. My name's Jose and I'm a sim racer here in Miami. Today I wanted to tell you a little story about when I started go-karting, and I just wanted to kind of get into all of the connections that I miss now that I'm heavily involved in sim racing, and just wanted to discuss some of the things that I don't like about sim racing. And I think in order to get down to the main points of what I think sim racing lacks are stuff that I have to go back to when it all started. And back when I was karting, for me, it was a very much a family thing. And it was my parents, my aunts and uncles, and just about everybody else you could think of. They were always at the track with us because we were always doing the same thing. That was just what the family did. And that was the world that I had grown up into. So I was always very much not only just driving the car, but experiencing everything else that would take place on a race weekend, whether it was just walking around the paddock and just talking to other people, or just, I was a kid back then. So, everything was very much different than what it is today, but still the connections are the same. When I would be able to just run around the paddock and talk to people. And then when we moved here to Florida, I was older. So I had just, when we started taking the race car up to Sebring and Daytona and stuff, I was always the one that would drive it just a few feet over to the gas pumps so that we could get it fueled up for the race. And I had just, I had been able to start driving, so I was able to get a little bit more involved. But even then, it's still go to the track, and it's the experience of, who's this kid driving this little Honda CRX with all this, crazy paint all over it. And I was just driving it to get fueled, but to me, I felt like I was on top of the world because I was just this kid, driving this cool race car to get fueled. It was a lot bigger than what it would be now. But I still look back on that and I still miss it. I still miss that feeling. And every chance that I get to go to the track, it reminds me of that, because I'm able to go just talk to people. And usually at Homestead, it's easy to get into the pit area. If it's a small local event, it's very easy to just you pay your entry fee and you're in the infield, so you can go to the garages, and if you want to, you can just go up to drivers and mechanics and talk to people. And it's a lot of fun because it brings back some of that environment. But when it comes to sim racing, at the beginning, a lot of that is just not there, especially if you're racing in VR. So a lot of the times where I get on the simulator, so the process is turn this whole thing on and register for a race, click join, and you run through either your practice session at first, then you go through the 3-minute practice, qualifying, and then the race. Every now and then you'll have a small conversation with somebody. Hopefully it's not related to an accident or anything, but specifically now with the paints, so that I've been able to put some of the graphics on the car, and I put the Puerto Rican flag on the car since I'm from Puerto Rico. And I was able to connect with somebody just from Orlando. They were asking if I was from Puerto Rico because of the paint on the car. So that's what I'm looking more for. I'm looking more to build the environment of what I used to feel at the track. I'm trying to build that as close as possible, which is why I've spent so much time building the environment around me to suit that as much as possible, with the helmets here on display and the rig the way that it looks. I've been very fortunate to be able to acquire all of this, and I've been able to put it together in a way that gets me closer and closer to feeling what I want to feel. And even after the race, it's just kind of sad, to be honest with you, that everybody goes through this whole motion of this pretty big deal of whether it's a 10-minute or an hour or however long the session might be, but at the very end, could be 19 people that just shared this one experience, and then everybody just leaves, and then there's nothing to it at the end. There's just, okay, quit X and just either register for another one or go about your day. So I think that with the growth of sim racing and the growth of the sim racing industry, I think that will end up changing. And I know that several other people, I'm sure that there's lots of other people out there that have already built up their teams, and stuff like Lando and Max Verstappen, and they obviously have their setups and their teams and all that stuff that they're able to have that experience because number one, that's all they do. And number two, they're in that environment already, so I'm sure it was a lot easier for them to get everything that they needed to build their sim racing team and build it in a way that almost replicates what they do on track in the real world, which is what I'm trying to get back to. It was always a dream of mine to become a racing driver. Up to now, there's no way I can afford, to go race professionally, and sim racing was, I guess, my ticket or my way into that. And now the more and more I grow, the more and more that feeling comes, and the more satisfaction I get, because now several times, definitely much more prior than when I wasn't sim racing, I've been able to meet a lot of people, and I've been able to connect with a lot of people, whether it's because of the Puerto Rican, my nationality, or the mental health. I've been able to connect with so many people now, which is what really kind of fuels me to keep going and to continue to explore this passion of mine and continue growing it. And kind of like what I did with my first business, when I started becoming confident in the fact that I was okay at that, that's what really gave me the confidence to keep going. And now 2 years later, here I am, almost basically building another company already. It's been something that really continues to push me and continues to give me confidence to continue growing and exploring even more passions and learning as much as I can from them. And being able to connect with as many people as I can, it's just a way for me to learn from other people. The more conversations I have with other people, the more responses I'm going to get, and whatever their response is, it's really just up to me to take that and take it however I want to make it work for me and to give me some sort of joy, hopefully, because that's ultimately what I've learned in the last 3 years is I just want to be happy. I spent so much time, nearly 20 years just going back and forth through different motions and different emotions, and just always feeling bad in my chest, and like literally just living with anxiety and living with depression for so long that now I've seen how I can get out of that. I've experienced life outside of that, and there's no way I'm going back to that life that I was living. It was pretty miserable. I've been very fortunate that I still have, the most amazing family and the most amazing support system, and everything worked, the way that I had hoped, and definitely had such an amazing amount of support. But my point is that I just really do all of this to be happy. I just do it to try and fulfill myself as much as I can, and if in any possible way that I can do that or help somebody achieve that, then it's all worth it, because I think that's going to be the way the world's going to continue to move forward, is that if we find a way to find happiness, or if we find more ways to creatively think, I think that the amount of influence that every single human being carries, I think it's such an important part of life. And I think that if we lived in a world where all these massive companies weren't essentially controlling everything, and humans had more opportunities to explore creative ideas and explore creative solutions, I think that that's really going to be the way that the world's going to move forward. And what I'm doing here is just the tiniest piece of that, but I really do feel like I'm doing something positive, and I'm doing something that's going to move the world forward. And hopefully what ends up happening is that this grows to a point where either the group of people that are here really help push and influence that motion. So that's really my story that I wanted to share today. It's been several weeks that I've just been kind of going through different races and just having different thoughts on the next video that I wanted to put out. And I think that this was an important one, and I'm glad I did it. It's the first video back since I've been out for a few days, so I'm glad that we're starting off the week and the next batch of uploads this way. So if you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. It's really helping the channel out. And if you want to continue to see more of this type of content, please consider subscribing, and also hit the notification bell so that you know when I'm going live, doing another race, or just uploading another video. So I will see you in the next one. See you later.